Among tonight's nominees at the Country Music Television Awards, singer-songwriter Brandy Clark, whose work is about to make its debut on Broadway. She's a co-writer, along with Shane McAnally, of a new musical, Years in the Making. Here's Tracy Smith.
Who says you can't do a show with country music on Broadway? You probably know every word of Oklahoma. The Mark Twain musical Big River won 7 Tonys.
But a man never trifles.
And Annie Get Your Gun was a big ol' hit, especially the countrified revival with Reba McEntire. And now a new country-themed musical about corn is ready to pop.
This corn ain't gonna shuck itself.
Shucked, which opens Tuesday, is that rarest of birds on Broadway. A completely original production.
It's like we have our own little corn hub.
Not based on a movie, or really anything else. The show started out as a nod to the old TV show Hee Haw, but after more than 10 years and a few complete overhauls, it's ready to stand on its own. It's the story of a small town closed off from society by cornfields. But when the corn starts suddenly dying, one brave soul goes to the big city for help. And a musical happens.
I used to be in overalls and curls, but that little girl is a woman of the world.
Caroline Innerbichler is the heroine, Maisie.
I have to call you family,
And Alex Newell is her cousin, Lulu.
but I get to call you friend.
My best friend, take your heart around the bend.
When you first heard a musical with country music, what did you think?
I think it makes perfect sense because country music, I've always felt, is the closest thing other than Broadway to Broadway because it's all about storytelling.
How about you, Alex? When you
Well,
heard
baby, you know
country?
I don't do country. I've done dance music, I've done Broadway, I've done jazz standards, I've done everything under the umbrella but country music. And so when I heard this, I was just like, okay.
Maybe love is like a sea.
It helps that the duo behind the music has some pretty impressive credentials. Brandy Clark, who herself grew up in a small town in Washington State, has written hits for the biggest stars in country.
Different mama.
And she has an album that she made with Brandy Carlisle coming out soon.
We absolutely have to say thank you to the sort of silent co-writers on this song who made this record with us, Brandy Clark and Luke Laird.
Shane McAnally is also one of the biggest songwriters in Music City. He's got 3 Grammys and a slew of other awards. But one of the things he says he cherishes the most is working with Brandy Clark.
Oh, God, no.
They clicked from the moment they met many, many hit songs ago.
And it was like lightning struck. And
We weren't even set up to write that day. We just met.
And it was boom.
it was.
What did you see in each other? What did you feel?
I saw myself.
Sometimes I call you crazy. Sometimes I call you out.
Their music is key, but the sound you hear most often at a Shucked performance is laughter. Kevin Cahoon is Peanut.
I think if you could pick up your dog with one hand, you own a cat. I don't know what's gonna happen. Heck, if I had a crystal ball, I'd probably walk real different.
A lot of the jokes are pretty edgy, and it's easy to see why.
This scene, it's musical.
The book writer, Robert Horn, used to write for a hit show on this very network.
If Hugh Hefner truly thinks that being publicly spread-eagled is so fantastic, how come we haven't seen his little wahoo with a staple in the middle?
You can kind of sense that there's a little designing women in this, yes?
There's a little designing women in all of us, yes.
Back then, his hair was long, and his comedy formula was simple.
I used to say, I'm gonna write it Jewish and you're gonna say it's Southern. That was the joke.
And that worked.
It did work, yes.
Turns out some of the cast are fans of that show, too.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, Designing Women was formative. It was appointment television for me every single week.
Do you have a favorite line from Designing
I
Women?
mean, it's everybody's favorite line.
Which one?
The light went out in Georgia.
So, Marjorie.
And that, Marjorie, just so you will know,
And someday your grandchildren will know.
is the night the lights went out in Georgia.
Wow.
No one
We're
made a
fans.
speech like that. I'm independently owned and modulated.
And every man that I meet is just intimidated. I will change who I am.
2 days from now, the lights will be on in New York City. For composers Clark and McAnally, it's a beginning and the end of a long and emotional road.
Why don't you pretend I'm him?
Why don't you pretend I'm her?
What is it like to be there together and see this come to life?
We sit together every night through these previews. Alex Newell sings a song called Independently Owned in the middle of the first act.
I'm independently owned and liberated.
They received a standing ovation in the middle of the act.
Trouble you are
I'm a former addict. I have, tried everything that I like many times over. And I just looked at her and said, this is like no high I have ever experienced.
A couple of nights ago, I just had this overwhelming feeling like I was looking at the barn and Shay and I were sitting there and I was like, this is so weird for me to say this to you right now, but I just love you so much. And
I remember that moment. I'll never forget it.
Because that is how I feel when we're sitting there. Like, it is like, even though we're not a couple, it is like we have this child.
And the hope is that their child will be something Broadway and the rest of us could probably use right about now. A freewheeling, knee-slapping bundle of joy.
There are a lot of heavy shows, and we need heavy shows. We thrive off of heavy shows, but sometimes you just need to do a little laugh, and sometimes you just need to let that go and have a guffaw.
days and days of corn. Yeah, corn.
We've been inside for so long, and we forgot that joy can exist.
Christmas over and it's got the knowledge for. We were born.